Welcome to More Than Legal, the show where we go behind the scenes to uncover the fine print of power, purpose, and profit. I'm your host, attorney Danielle Laughlin. After almost 2 decades in the trenches of courtrooms and boardrooms, I have learned that every move leaves a mark and every deal tells a story. What will we uncover today? Let's find out. Hey, real quick, before we dive into the episode, remember, nothing you hear on this podcast is intended to be legal, financial, or tax advice. I invite you to contact any of the guests you hear by looking in the show notes for their contact information, or if you'd like to reach out to me, you can find my contact information at daniellelaughlin.com. All right, now let's get into it. Hi, everybody. Welcome to the show. Thank you so much for tuning in today. I am excited to talk with an entrepreneur who I actually met at a speaking event of a couple of months ago, and she shared her incredible journey and story with us. And I was actually a speaker with her, and I was so moved by what she shared that I knew she would be a great addition to your listening pleasure here at the More Than Legal podcast. So, Rayo, I want to say thank you for coming on. Everybody, this is Rayo Torres. I'm going to let her tell you a little bit about herself, but I just want to start by saying that she has an incredible journey as an entrepreneur. She had a very successful exit, and I think you're going to get a lot of value from her today. She can tell you a little bit more about her experience, and then we'll get into our conversation. But don't forget, at the end of this, she'll share with you how you can connect with her online if you'd like to go deeper and learn more about her. So, Rayo, can you share just a little bit about yourself and where you find yourself today?
Thank you. Thank you. And thank you for the invite, Daniel. It's very nice to be here today. Um, so I am Rayo Torres. Right now I'm taking a sabbatical year after exiting the business I co-founded with my ex-husband in 2012. We exit back, well, I did exit back in August 2024, and it's going to be about a year, just slowing down a little bit and dedicating time to my teenagers that keep me very, very busy.
Amazing. And I'm a mom of teenagers too. I know how the season of teenage life is so hectic. So it's great that you can take some time to slow down and figure out what's next for you and for them, right?
Yeah, yeah. I feel that building a business, there's a lot of regrets and remorseful thinking as a parent always for infinite reasons. But when you are building a business, one of them is like, I didn't spend enough time with them and I prioritize my business versus my kids. So this comes in handy this year. I'm just relaxing, but for sure also looking for opportunities in investment opportunities in new startups, and also um, finding just the right idea to start all over again.
I love that. And that's exactly what we want to talk about here at the show is really just passion for entrepreneurship. And even when you have a successful exit, what many of our audience, seek to do, they're really planning to do. And sometimes I feel there's this idea that, you're going to have this grand exit and then you're just going to sit by the beach and you're going to drink pina coladas and you're going to be just,
Yeah.
living your best life. And it's like, actually, my best life is bringing value to the world,
Mhm.
right? And so I
Yes.
love that. Um, do you have, what are you thinking about now? Do you have any prospects now, or are you just kind of a clean slate waiting for the right thing to come along?
Yeah, I've been discussing some ideas with a software engineer that used to work for us in a previous the previous company, and we are thinking about this new digital business. But we are taking it slow right now. I'm in the process of renovating a home and moving. So probably will settle more the project right now, we are working on a prototype, and we might be launching something by the fall of this year. So I'll just enjoy the summer and get back to business by the fall.
Awesome. I love that. So, why don't you tell the audience, just, looking back on your journey, was there one decision that you made that really moved the needle for your growth to get you on a pathway for exit?
Oh, and the pathway for exit. Okay, the pathway for exit. Um, the work was very intense. It's like, as an entrepreneur, you worry about starting a business and moving the sales and being profitable and all of that. But then there's this second stage where the concentration goes through to having all your ducks in the row, like in perfect row, and from a compliance standpoint of view, have everything clean, from accounting, from legal, from in insurance policies in place, cyber insurance being in a digital business, that's a must have if you want to go through a transaction, and also look into obtain like a SOC 2 type 2 recommendation letter. So we could be, a clean, good standing business from a structural point of view that can be appealing to investors. We need to have all the dirty laundry cleaned up and folded up, so to speak, to be able to be attractive and just to avoid risk, because investors, of course, don't want to go and invest in a digital business that might be experience a cyber attack, or is vulnerable, or doesn't have clean process, or there's liability with employees. So everything needs to be cleaned up, and that's where a lot of work went for the last 2 3 years before the exit.
Yes, and that's a trajectory that we often talk about, and it seems like no one really wants to accept that reality. And so, having lived through it, we do it on the transaction side for the client, and we're helping them do it. But it's not us cleaning up our dirty laundry. It's like helping them to do it for themselves. And I know that it's a lot of work, and so I'm sure that was quite the project to undertake. And like you said, it takes a few years, right, to be able to get it all done. So let's back up a little bit. Let's go back to the beginning, because I think the exit is probably what a lot of entrepreneurs are attracted to, because that's the goal that they're
Yeah.
trying to achieve. But really, you don't get there until you make the right decisions long before that. So, is there anything, as you reflect back on your journey, do you see any decision that you made, whether it was either strategic in the business or personal to you, or maybe both, that really helped you get to a place where you could even consider making an exit?
Okay. Let me think of the answer. Um, I think the most important decision to be able to exit the business that you, as a co-founder or founder, created, it is to detach yourself and your ego from the business. Because one problem with the founder, it is that, or the co-founder, or even an executive or a manager, it is, we attach our identity and our value as a person so much to the dependency that the business has on us. Like, I'm important because they need me. Oh, I need to work after 5 p.m. because I'm on patrol for the business, an emergency, and I'm Superman or Superwoman and I save the day. Being a successful entrepreneur, for me, from my standpoint of view, there are many views and all the views are okay, but on my own system of beliefs, it is creating an organization and having all the processes in place, where if you die tomorrow overnight and you disappear from the picture, the business continues to operate as normal. There's no, oh my God, what we are going to do. So to be able to prepare to get to that point, you need people, you need team, you need to in a continuous way to be delegating work. Don't hold it to knowledge. Don't hold knowledge hostage. Share it with your team and enrich everybody. Empower all of your leaders, and that's I think that's a way you can exit without, of course, being having to stay post transaction as an employee of your investors.
Yes. I love that. Ego is one of the things that we were talking about at our event. And, people get triggered by ego, and the reality is that we all have egos. And especially if you are an ambitious person, whether you're the founder, like you said, or whether you're just an entrepreneur who is trying to go up the ladder or in management, um, usually the more ambitious you are, the more careful you have to be about your ego, because the ego is really what drives us to succeed in a lot of ways. And so I really appreciated hearing from you also how you had these different ways of trying to tame your own ego, and also recognizing the impact it would have on your ability to grow. And I think it's really a switch in the way that we've been talking about business over the last several years. And I think COVID kind of increased our awareness around these ideas, because we started to see that uh, very apparent risk of death, very apparent threat to survival. So, do you have any like legal or compliance related issues that you experienced that taught you something important, not just about maybe the law or the rules, but how you were leading your organization?
Yeah. So I think we did receive some lawsuits during our management of the company, and taking aside all of the backstory and the context of the situation, and being accountable for as an owner and as an entrepreneur on what was my responsibility. I think in the beginning, we did miss to take some steps, like the original name of the company. We were we were naive. I personally thought this company wouldn't grow. It was just like, yeah, maybe it will work, maybe it won't. I don't know. I'm just like drinking my coffee at 10 p.m. in the kitchen, and my ex husband arrives and he's like, I'm thinking of this name, and I'm like, yeah, right, yeah, that name is good. Well, that name was very, very close from an existing company that had their name trademarked, and we didn't do the research, we didn't do the trademark. So, for the first couple of years, we operated with this name, and it brought us a lot of trouble after. Even if we changed our name in 2000, by the end of 2015, and beginning of 2016, I created the name of CargoSprint, all the brand. We did a rebranding just to avoid all legal conflict. But once it started, it was just like it got us into litigation and all of that. So even if you have a small idea and you want to cut expenses on $10,000 lawyer legal fee for trademark and your name and do all of the process, it's $10,000 well spent, and believe in your ideas. And if you fail, it's okay. But if you don't, then you're very well protecting your baby or your long term investment. That's something I will do all over again. Take more seriously the name, and that the idea that the business will eventually explode and grow. In the beginning, I was just like, maybe it will work, maybe it won't, who knows? And yeah, we didn't take seriously that. Then another point will be general counsel. It's a big expense, legal, and when you are starting with 10 employees, you're looking for the salary of a new employee to give you an extra hand. And legally it's just like lawyers are, we see them are like, oh, very expensive, right? Like $250 an hour to 600 to 1,000. But there are fractional general counsel that you don't have to bring somebody full time. You can like get 10 hours a week. And there's also now intelligence with artificial intelligence empowered platforms that can get you a general counsel in your company at a fraction of the cost of a full-time lawyer. So I think any agreement that you want to have standardized across your organization, review of employee agreements and DAs, and your processes, not only with human resources but in commercial, with customers, trademark, also patents and licenses that you need to have your business operating with. All of that, it's important to be with working very closely with general counsel. That's something that I will have brought sooner to the table, because what I'm talking, like, it took us 3 years to put all our ducks in a row. Maybe we will have it done in a year with
Yeah.
the assistance of general counsel. We brought in a general counsel, and she had to do a lot of work. And she really did a wonderful job, and thanks to her, a lot of things got cleaned up. And but it was something that I should have done earlier in the business, like a couple years earlier.
We see that a ton, and that is one of the things that we try. There's a lot of miseducation, I think, out there as well. There's a lot of myths. Most of the time, what people know about lawyers is what the general population knows about lawyers, which is, what either it's contingency fee for personal injury, right? And the idea is, well, I'm only going to call the lawyer when I have a big gnarly problem, and they're not going to charge me, right? Because there's going to be this contingency fee. There's this big myth. We hear that one a lot. And then the other myth is, well, I don't need a lawyer until I have the problem. And we try to help the client see that actually it's much cheaper to get in early with the attorney, so you can try to mitigate some of those big costs. And so, yes, I think too, we've seen where we wanted to maybe get rid of our litigation services, because they're not the most fun to do, right? They make us money, but that's not really what we enjoy doing. But we find it's actually necessary to keep it, because that's usually the first time that a business calls a lawyer, is when they actually have the problem. So it's almost like the problem happens, and then we have to say, okay, so we don't want this problem anymore. So how do we prevent this problem in the future? And so I love that now that you're looking ahead, and you're like, okay, that's something I probably want to think about earlier. I also really appreciate that. I think entrepreneurs view your business in parts. So you mentioned, I've got my customers, I've got my employees, I've got my brand. And a lot of times I think there's just a little uncertainty about how much the law actually impacts every single part of it. It's kind of like out of sight, out of mind, And so as you look ahead, what role do you see? I love that you mentioned fractional GC, because, in-house lawyers are expensive. I mean, it's a C-level position. Having the fractional, what was the benefit to you? How did you feel? You mentioned that she was very helpful to you, but what was the feeling that you had when you eventually engaged this attorney to help you?
We had some internal cleanup to do because agreement with when you start in the company, you might have verbal agreements with employees about, oh yeah, oh, like, I don't know, I'm just not talking about the particular case in CargoSprint, but I'm talking general examples. Okay. So you as a founder, you bring your friend and you say, okay, I'll give you, I don't know, X amount of equity in the company.
Mm-hmm.
And you guys start working very hard and stuff. And in the long run, this friend might think the equity it was due today or like tomorrow, and you were thinking, oh, you needed to prove yourself, and in 3 years I will give it to you. So do not make any verbal promise to any employee about, yeah, I might give you equity or anything that might be a misunderstanding without counsel in the or like in the conversation. And also those kind of premises don't work well verbally, but very clear expectations in an agreement, like I can give you options or I can give you a bonus, but instead of the bonus will be some form of rollover. I don't know, but very clearly define what the goal is in your mind and what the expectation from for that person. If you are going to work something like it is not wise to do it without GC. So these lawyer helped us in a lot of ways with agreements. Also, we were going through a cyber security application, and a lot of the checklist needs to be answered by legal. So
Mm-hmm.
instead of you so here's how it helps. Instead of you having to go with a lawyer for a particular issue and educating the lawyer, which is very expensive, but about your business, how you operate, background, even getting along with the person and getting to know each other. So starting that process over and over again with different counsels over time, it gets expensive. So
Mm-hmm.
having somebody that is a general counsel and is ready to go, it's very important. And also, if the general counsel feels that this is out of my specialty, I'm general. You need a specialist in trademark, or you need a specialist in labor. So your general counsel will be able to translate in lawyer talk and minimize the overhead for the specialist of the lawyer, which a specialist fee will be $1,200, maybe more. And your general counsel fee will be like 250, 350 if you pay in bulk upfront on a monthly basis. And then they will be minimizing those other bills from other specialists when needed. It's a good practice, and I feel that I'm giving an infomercial about this,
What?
but it is like you can arrange for 10 hours a month. I think that will be the bare minimum. And if you don't use in 10 hours, you move 5 hours that were left from May into June, and then you have 15 for June and so on. But it's a good practice for to have in small businesses.
Yes, and I think it's you said it sounds like an infomercial. I think sometimes it feels kind of like an infomercial too, just to help explain where that value can come from, because a general counsel is a partner in the success of the business. So rather than, like you said, with this disparate lawyer here or there, your general counsel wants you to be successful. The longer you are in business and doing well, the longer your relationship with them will maintain itself. And so it really is a symbiotic relationship. And so I think for the audience too, like even the title of this podcast, More Than Legal, GCs are really more than lawyers, right? They're counselors. You speak confidentially with them. You share your fears, your hopes, your dreams, and they can't tell anybody about it. It is fully protected. I think that there is an aspect of that relationship that has been lost. That's how it used to be, many, many years ago with attorneys, and now it's become a lot more, like you said, a specialized, a lot more transactional in nature. Call me when you need something, and a general counsel is really a little bit of a deeper relationship than some of the other attorney services. And even for like what you are doing at CargoSprint, that's one component of this otherwise very complicated system. And so the general counsel is like that. It's one component of a very complicated system of law that can be more specialized. So I love that you're willing to share and speak on that. And I think that because you had that exit, you were able to see the full fruition of the value of that relationship. Some folks are in the middle of that relationship. They're not at an exit point yet. And we have this finite number of SG&A dollars, right? That's got to pay for HR, tech, finance, legal, right? And we often are seeing these dollars, they're shifting. I was just meeting with a friend yesterday who's a fractional CRO, and we were laughing about how we're not competitors, but we actually are competitors because small businesses have to watch those dollars in a different way. Did you ever experience a situation like that where you had this finite amount of money and you need different things in your company? And this is, maybe shooting a long shot at you because you may not have really thought much about this aspect of this conversation, but if you have something to share on it, I'd really love to hear it, which is, what's the thought process when you are in that seat? You know your company is growing. It needs to keep growing because it's got to feed the machine. You need to invest in maybe some compliance, some legal stuff. You also want to make sure that you're taking your profit and you're investing it well and you're using it well. So you've got all these kind of competing priorities. Do you recall any time sitting there having thoughts about what to invest in first?
We have internal conversations because when you're a sole owner, it's very easy. You have to have the discussion with your own mind, and that's it. But when there are several owners involved, then you need to have those conversations and have an agreement with them. And there might be very opposite points of view. And if you don't have, in a small business, you don't have a board of directors yet, or you might start going through that operating style by having board members voting on a budget for the next year, or you might not be doing that and just starting to have a budget with yourself as a sole owner. It depends. And it's different when the only one person has all the decision and all the power to say what I'm going to invest next. I think it's up to where the heart goes and the best interest of that leader, so to speak. And when there's a different people, they will be advocating for their own departments. So if you have somebody that loves tech and they hate not very much compliance and the boring stuff, they will advocate to allocate more budget to the to the tech, and let's bring more developers or so. And if you have somebody who's like a lawyer, they will be advocating for, we need more hours of legal and compliance, and we need to have another human resources because we need more processes. So it just depends on the personality of the decision makers within a group, a leadership group. Um, and in small business, let's say one person calls all the shots. Um, it is it is very easy to concentrate on sales and commercial and marketing and advertising and more. So I want to bring consciousness or awareness to this analogy. So we all want a beautiful giant tree, a canopy tree that is huge and gives a lot of shade, and maybe we can even build a tree house in that tree. But that tree won't grow externally that much and that big without big roots, like deep, strong roots. So there needs to be a balance between external growth and internal growth and structure, because otherwise it is like a building. If you don't have a good, strong foundation, the building will collapse. An earthquake will collapse. If you rush to sell, and in digital business, if you concentrate on growth and technology development and innovation and all of that without the security controls in place, not only from a technological standpoint of view in your systems, but also with your personnel. If you don't spend time training them about cybersecurity, then an earthquake will come. A hacker will send an email, and your systems will be hacked, and your business will collapse. It can take a cyber attack. Even we've seen cyber attacks with big companies, very big companies, and countries and government agencies. We just experienced something in Europe very recently where all airports in Madrid were collapsed for a full day because of a cyber attack, or they claim they don't know. But anyway,
Yeah.
so balance the inner structure of the company with the external growth. At least try to go 50-50, I will say, because no one gets very successful from selling in a hyper growth if at the same pace you're not growing your internal organization to support that growth.
Yes. Yes, absolutely. And we've seen it too, where clients will get an offer, like here's an LOI, it's got a big shiny number on it. And the founders, the owners get excited. And as GC, we know that there's things that aren't going to shake out in due diligence that we've been trying to get them to invest in. And so you try to kind of, prepare them that this number that you're looking at is so exciting. Possibly it's not the number that you're going to end up at, maybe. And so I think your analogy is a really good one, and it makes a lot of sense. Our law firm, we have like a little leaf on the bottom of this column, and the idea is that like this leaf is holding up, this amazing business. You've built this business without us. We are taking 0% credit for this amazing thing that you're doing. But you got to have this little leaf underneath it, or like you said, it's a house of cards, and it really can go really poorly, really fast.
Yeah.
So I love that. So tell us a little bit about, you are a very conscientious person. I mean, you mentioned conscientiousness, and, when I heard you speak, you were talking a lot about energy. And I'd like to talk a little bit about maybe that next generation of leaders, and kind of what do you hope that the future leaders understand about power and influence and doing business the right way?
I don't think I'm in a moral position of how to tell anyone how to do business the right way. I know my way, and there are very different ways of leading a company, and all of them are fine. I'm by no means I believe I'm in this moral position of saying, oh, this is the right way. It's okay. There are companies that are driven by humans with a lot of ego and very little interest in the humans that are working in the company, and that's okay. Maybe the world needs those leaders in those business. And there's like, if we have the whole color spectrum, and we have so many colors to pick, it will be so boring to have only a world where the only color is white because that's the right color. So it is the same with business. It's okay, and that there are all kinds of leaders. In my experience and what I like better, how to I perceive business, it is that um, the people who are creating business, they need to be blessed. They need to have good luck, and they need to have or stars aligned or something. Um, and also they need to have all this energy surrounding them to be able to be abundant and blissful and all of that. So and it's a gift because think about it. You are creating a business, you have a car accident, and a truck runs on you, and you're left paraplegic. Okay? And in a second, all what you thought it was under your control, it's gone. So in reality, the fact that we are alive, the fact that we are walking, the fact that we are breathing, and the fact that we wake up one day without any disease to attack us, it's a gift. And if we are like conscious about it, we understand that we are not entitled to anything. And if we have the gift of running a successful business, it is to create an ecosystem to provide employment opportunities for humans where they wake up and they shouldn't be like, I hate my job. I want to go to this awful job. I don't want to work, but I need to pay the bills. If you're, in my opinion, for myself, if I'm delivering that kind of experience to my employees, then I'm failing. I'm just here in the business of making money. That's my expectation that I set for myself. It is, if I'm going to have a business, I need to deliver in my own power the best experience for customers, because if the for user, for employees, because if the employees feel happy and they belong to the company and they wake up one day and they say, I like my job and I like my coworkers and I have a good experience, they will deliver that to the customer. And then you are creating, as a human and as a leader, an ecosystem that makes this world a little better, and then the money will follow. But I perceive that as being a conscious leader of giving all the tools to my employees to be happy with what they are doing and in the job they are doing as much as I can, because there's like also miserable people that will be miserable. But I think once you create that energy, you attract the same. And if somebody doesn't match, they leave. But that's a responsibility as a leader that I set for myself. And what I would like to see is that I think humans, we are waking up, and every day there are more conscious humans that understand that we are here, and just like in a blink of an eye, and this is a matrix, and we have the power, by being self-aware and being present in this moment, to change our external environment with our inner power. So I hope to see more and more business leaders that care deeply about the humans that are working in their companies and also the humans that are the customers and users of their services or products they offer.
Yes. I love that. And, I love too that you said, I'm not the moral authority. I think it's part of that ego checking, right? It's the humility to recognize that, yes, pursuing business for purely profitable means is not unethical. It's actually an ethical decision. I mean, in business ethics, it's like you have to be profitable because you owe the investors, the owners, a return on their investment. I mean, that is the primary principle of business ethics. And then there is this more modern question around stakeholders and how the business owes these obligations to stakeholders, but not everybody views it that way. And I think it's important that we shine a light on that. That's part of my mission in my life, is really just to help people understand there are places where you can go, and it's going to be a competitive environment. It's going to be very focused on making money, and they do usually make really great money. And if that's what you want, you should pursue that. But there is another way. There is a different way where you can actually put your focus on the people, and in fact, that will also make you really good money as well. And so I love that you're not calling people out for seeking profit, maybe before people interests, but also that you're clear about who you are and who you want to work with. And I think that's the most important thing about any business, is just having values alignment, regardless of what those values really are. So I appreciate so much hearing from you, Rayo, today. I want to be respectful of your time. So we're going to just wrap up here. But is there anything that you want to share today, knowing that our audience is, typically founders, C-levels, managers that are trying to understand not just how to be better at business, but maybe just what it means to be a more conscientious leader? Is there any insight or resources that you think could be helpful to our audience in that regard?
Yeah, I think the only takeaway is be like let's be very conscious of our own mortality and that consciousness. If we think, okay, I'm going to die today and this is my last day, will that matter if you stay working until 10 p.m.? Would you be so important and will make you so happy? Or would you cut your day short at 6 p.m. and go home and enjoy your kids? Um, leave work at work, and you are not your work. That's not your identity, because we are all going to die, and who cares? Nobody will remember in 100 years, oh, what a great manager you were. What is more the impact of the experiences you have with the humans surrounding you that matters? Because the energy that you live in the world is the energy that will subsist after you die. Nameless, doesn't have to be attached to your name. So just the consciousness of death help us to be grounded and understand what really matters in our lives.
Yes, great advice. Well, thank you so much, Rayo, for being here today. And how can folks find you online if they want to connect with you more?
Thank you. I'm on LinkedIn. My name is Rayo Torres, RAYOTORRES. I'll give you my link to LinkedIn. I don't do Facebook or Instagram, just with for my grandma and aunts, and that's it. But yeah, so it's only LinkedIn for now.
Awesome. Well, we will absolutely link your LinkedIn profile in the show notes. Please reach out to Rayo, especially if you are a founder who is in the tech space. She is definitely someone to listen to. She's got a lot of stuff out there And she's coming back. We'll see her again soon doing something really cool, it sounds like. So congratulations on those opportunities, Rayo. We wish you the best with that. And maybe we'll see you in the future. Well, we could talk about some new stuff that you're working on.
Yes, that was super exciting. And thank you. And yeah, feel free to contact me if you have any questions. It's not easy to start a business, and there are so many questions and doubts. But if you want to throw me an inbox on LinkedIn, I'll reply. I'm pretty much available.
Absolutely. Basking in your sabbatical. I love that so much.
Thank
So
you.
awesome. Thank you, Rayo. Thank you again. All
Bye.
right. Bye bye, everybody. We'll see you next time. Thank you for listening to the show. Remember, stay sharp, stay curious, and stay tuned for our next episode. Bye for now.